This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, good morning. Today we will discuss the first chapter in the fourth unit, that is support for object-oriented programming. So, the different topics which we will discuss. So, first one is about the instruction. Second one is object-oriented programming concepts, and third one is design issues for object-oriented programming concepts. And next is support for object-oriented programming in Smalltalk, C++, Objective-C, Java, C Sharp, Adana, and Ruby. And also finally implementation of the object-oriented constructs. So what are, I mean, many object-oriented programming languages are there. So some procedural and data-oriented means multi-paradigm languages. For example, ADA 95 plus and C++, and some support functional programming. For example, CLOS. And new languages do not support other paradigms but use their imperative structures. For example, Java and C Sharp. So some are pure OOP language. For example, Smalltalk and Ruby, and some functional languages support who, but they are not discussed in this chapter. So what are the three main language features for object-oriented programming? First one is abstract data type, and second one is inheritance, and third one is polymorphism. And inheritance is the central theme in the OOP and language that support it. And polymorphism is ability of more than one form, ability to represent in more than one form is nothing but the polymorphism. Okay, that also we will discuss. And abstract data type. Abstract data type means which consists of only the essential information is placed, and we will group the data and the operations into a single syntactic unit. So first come to inheritance. So inheritance increases the productivity because it uses the concept called reusability. And ADTs are difficult to reuse because it always needs some changes. And all ADTs are independent and at the same level. ADT means abstract data types. So inheritance allows new classes defined in terms of existing. That is by allowing them to inherit common parts from the parent class. So inheritance addresses both of the above concerns. So reuse ADTs after minor changes and define new classes in a hierarchy. In object-oriented concepts, ADTs are usually called as classes. As we all know, a class is a user-defined data type. ADTs are also user-defined, and the class instances are called the objects. And a class that inherits is a derived class or a subclass, and the class from which another class inherits is nothing but a parent class or a superclass or base class. And subprograms that define operations on objects are called methods. That means a class consists of um, um, operations, and we can create an object from the classes. Okay, and object and concept. So calls to methods are called messages. So whenever we are calling a method, that means we are passing a message to the object. The entire collection of methods of an object is called message protocol or message interface. And messages have two parts: a method name and the destination object. In the simplest case, a class inherits all of the entities of its parent. So inheritance can be complicated by access controls to encapsulated entities. A class can hide entities from its subclasses. A class can hide entities from its clients. A class can also hide entities from its clients by allowing a subclass to see them. And besides inheriting methods, as is, a class can modify an inherited method. The new one overrides the inherited one. The method in the parent is overridden. So there are three ways a class can differ from its parent. First one is the parent class can define some of its variables or methods to have private access, which means they will not be visible in the subclass. And the subclass can add variables and methods to those inherited from the parent. And that is second one. Third one is the subclass can modify the behavior of one or more of its inherited methods. So these are the three ways in which a class can differ from its parent. There are two kinds of variables in a class. One is class variables and instance variables. Instance variables are per object and class variables are per class. There are two kinds of methods in a class. One is class method and instance method. Class methods access messages to this class, and instance method access messages to objects. And there is a singular versus multiple inheritance. So singular means acquiring the properties of the base class by the derived class from a single base class. Is nothing but single instance. And multiple instance acquiring the properties from more than one base class is nothing but the multiple instance. And one disadvantage for inheritance for use is it creates interdependencies among the classes that complicates the maintenance activity. Next is dynamic binding. Next feature in object-oriented programming is dynamic binding. So a polymorphic variable can be defined in a class that is able to reference objects of the class and objects of any of its descendants. So when a class hierarchy includes classes that overrides methods, and such methods are called through polymorphic variables, the binding to the correct method will be dynamic. That means the dynamic binding dynamic binding means we know the type of the object pointed by the pointer only at the runtime. Only at the runtime. It allows software systems to be more easily extended during both development and maintenance. Next, an abstract method is one that does not include a definition. That means it does not contain any definitions, only declarations it contains. It only defines a protocol. And an abstract class is one that includes at least one virtual method. So an abstract class cannot be instantiated. That means we cannot create objects with the abstract classes. And an abstract class includes at least one virtual node. And design issues for object-oriented programming language. So these are the several design issues. First one is exclusivity of the objects. Second one is our subclasses, subtypes. Third one is single and multiple inheritance. Fourth one is object allocation and deallocation. Fifth one is dynamic and static binding. Sixth one is nested classes. Seventh one is initialization of the object. So exclusivity of the object. That means only objects are supported by the object-oriented programming language. So is this an advantage or disadvantage? It is from one side, it gives the elegance and purity, and on the other side, it shows the operations on simple objects. So that means even if you perform a simple integer addition, you have to convert the integers into objects, primitive data types into objects. So that's because it slows down the operation. That is the disadvantage. Second one is add objects to a complete typing system. So the first advantage is fast operations on simple objects, and the disadvantage results in a confusing type system. Confusion. That means two kinds of entities you have here. Okay, so that is the second type of system. And third one is include an imperative style typing system for primitives, but making everything else objects. That means it supports both the primitive types for primitive types as well as for the objects for the rest of the data. That means user defined. So one advantage is fast operations on simple objects and a relatively small typing system. And the disadvantage is still some confusion because of the tool system, which one to use when, and we need conversion from one type of system to another type of system whenever you are using for other type. Our subclasses subtype. So that means subclass. That means there's a easier relationship both between a parent class and object of the subclass. If a derived class is a parent class, then objects of the derived class must behave the same as the parent class. So that is nothing but the easier relationship. A derived class is a subtype if it has an easier relationship with its parent. Subclass can only add variables and methods and override inherited methods in compatible ways. And single and multiple inheritance. So multiple inheritance allows a new class to inherit from two or more classes. That means more than one base class. So what is the disadvantage of multiple inheritance? So language and implementation complexity, in part due to name collision. That means whenever you are referring the same name which exists in both the base classes, name collisions. So we need to deal with some implementation issues that we will see, and the potential inefficiency. That means dynamic binding costs more with multiple inheritance. And what is the advantage? Advantage is sometimes it is quite convenient and valuable. And allocation and deallocation of objects. So from where are objects allocated? So if they behave line the edit is, they can be allocated from anywhere. So allocation from the runtime stack. So objects are allocated from the runtime stack and explicitly create on the heap via new. If there are heap dynamic, references can be through uniform through a point or reference variable, and simplifies assignment dereferencing can be implicit. If objects are stack dynamic, there is a problem with regard to subtypes, that is object slicing. We are only able to see the derived part, but base part remains as it is when you delete a derived class object. So that is nothing but the object slicing. So is deallocation explicit or implicit? So deallocation explicit means we are using some functions like free. Deallocation implicit means we are implicit means it is supported by the programming language. So dynamic and static bind. Should all bindings of messages to messages be dynamic? If none are, you lose the advantage of the dynamic bind. If all are, then it is inefficient. Maybe the design should allow the user to specify. And nested classes. So what is a nested class? If a new class is needed by only one class, there is no reason to define, so it can be seen by other classes. So can the new class be nested inside the class that you use it? In some case, the new class is nested inside a subprogram rather than directly in another class. So that means we can nest in a class or we can nest in a subprogram. So what are the other issues? Which facilities of the nesting class should be visible to nested class and vice versa? So initialization of the object. So our objects initialized to values when they are created. We can initialize using implicit or explicit initialization. So we can initialize the object using constructors. That is implicit initialization. And we can also do it using explicit initialization also. Using methods also, we can initialize the objects. So how are parent class members initialized when a subclass object is created? So however, so that means we can initialize the parent members in using derived class objects while initialization of the derived class. So support for OOP in Smalltalk. So Smalltalk is a pure object-oriented programming language. Everything is an object in Smalltalk. All objects have local memory. All compression is through objects sending messages to objects. None of the appearance of imperative languages. All objects are allocated from the heap, and all deallocation is implicit. There is no operator we are using for deallocation, and allocation of the objects are done using heap. And inheritance. A Smalltalk subclass inherits all of the instance variables, instance methods, and class methods of a superclass. All subclasses are subtypes. Nothing can be hidden. And no, all inheritance is implementation inheritance. No multiple inheritance. Only single inheritance is supported by this Smalltalk. And dynamic binding. All binding of messages to methods is dynamic. So the process is to search for the object to which the message is sent for the method. If not found, the search is superclass except up to the class which has no superclass. The only type checking in Smalltalk is dynamic, and the only type error occurs when a message is sent to an object that has no matching method. And evaluation of Smalltalk. The syntax of language is simple and regular. Good example of power provided by a small language, and slow compared with conventional compiled imperative languages. Dynamic binding allows type errors to go undetected until runtime, and it introduces the GUI, that is graphical user interface, and it has a greatest impact, and it is advancement of the OOP, object-oriented programming language. Second one is C++ language. The C++ language is evolved from C and Simula 67. It is among the most widely used object-oriented programming languages. It is mixed typing system. That means it has both the conventional standard top-down approach as well as bottom-up approach. And constructor, it has both constructors as well as destructors, and it can elaborate access controls to class entities. Inheritance. A class need not be the class of any other class. And access controls for members are private, public, and protected. Private means only visible to the class itself and its parents. And the second one is public. Public means it is visible to all the subclasses and clients. Protected means only visible to the class and its subclasses, but not clients. And in addition, the subclassing process can be declared with access controls, which define potential changes in access by subclasses. First one is private derivation. Inherited public and protected members are private in the subclasses, and public derivation, public and protected members are also public and protected in the subclass. That means if you derive a class from its parents with private derivation, everything is private from the base class. Every public will become private, and every private member will become private in the derived class. Suppose we derive publicly from the base class, the public part will become the public, and the protected protected part will become the protected in the subclass. So this is an example. There is a base class with A as in with A and X with integer and floating point in private member, and B and Y are in the integers and floating in the protected member, and C and Z are the integer and floating point members in public class. And subclass 1 is a derived class, and this class is a base colon public base class. So in this one, B and Y are protected. Why? Because base class we are deriving in public. So that means both the private, protected, and public as it is will be copied into the private into the derived class. And in the second example, class applies to private base class. That means all the private, protected, and public part of the base class will become private in the derived class. Next, re-exportation sequence. A member that is not accessible in subclass can be declared to be visible there using the scope resolution operator. Okay, example, there is a base class subclass and privately you are deriving the base class, and there is a variable called C which is present in the base class. So we can use it here in the form of scope resolution operator. And one motivation for using private derivation is a class provides members that must be visible, so that defined to be public members. A derived class adds some new members, does not want its clients to see the members of the parent class, even though they had to be public in the parent class definition. So that is motivation for private derivation. So it does not want its clients to be visible, only to the parent class and its friend function. And what is support for OOP in C++? So multiple inheritance is supported here. That means we can derive from more than one class, and if a member is present in both the base classes, we can resolve that using the scope resolution operator. Okay, that means name resolution can be done using the scope resolution operator. Next, dynamic binding. A method can be defined to be virtual, which means that they can be called through polymorphic variables and dynamically bound to the messages. So if virtual keyword is present before the method, means we are going to use dynamic binding, and every dynamic binding function and is a virtual function, and a pure virtual function means which does not have no definition, which does not have any definition, and only protocol is there. So a class that has at least one pure virtual function is nothing but a abstract class. So here shape is an abstract class because it has pure virtual function. Pure virtual function is denoted with equal to 0, and there is a base class called circle, rectangle, and square. Circle is derived in public mode, and rectangle also public, and square also public. The draw function, every derived class has its own draw function. So what we do is, since we cannot create an object to a abstract class, but we can create a pointer to the abstract class. Here shape is abstract class, so we can create a pointer called SQ. So we are creating an object dynamically using new operator, and we are creating a pointer to the rectangle dynamically using new operator and rectangle. Now the pointer is shape star PTR shape. So this pointer is pointing to SQ first, and so whenever you say PTR shape underscore draw, that means SQ draw function will be called, and this is dynamically bound, and RECT draw. So RECT draw means, so we have created the pointer in the rectangle, and we are using the draw function directly of the rectangle. So this is statically bound. One is dynamically bound, another one is statically bound. Dynamically bound means we don't know the type of the object pointed by the pointer until runtime. So if all the objects are allocated from stack, it is quite different. For example, square SQ, rectangle RQ, RECT equal to SQ. So that means copies every data member value from SQ object, RECT data, so calls the draw from the rectangle. Evaluation. So C++ provides extensive access controls unlike Smalltalk, and C++ provides multiple inheritance. In C++, the programmer must decide at design time which methods will be dynamically bound and which method must be dynamically bound. And remember, static binding is faster. And Smalltalk type checking is dynamic, flexible but somewhat unsafe. And because of interpretation dynamic binding, Smalltalk is 10 times approximately slower than C++. Next is Objective-C. So like C++, Objective-C adds support for object-oriented programming to C programming language. So design was at about the same time as that of C++. And the largest syntactic difference, that means method calls and the interface section of a class declares the instance variables and the methods, and implementation section of a class defines the methods, and classes cannot be nested. That means there are no nested classes in Objective-C. And what are the object-oriented programming features present in Objective-C? First one is inheritance, and that too single inheritance only, and every class must have a parent, and NS object is the base class. NS object is the base class, and because base class data members can be declared to be private, subclasses are not necessarily subtypes. And any method that has the same name, return type, and same number and types of parameters as an inherited method overrides the inherited method. An overridden method can be called through super keyword. All inheritance is public, unlike C++. All inheritance is public, unlike C++. And next one is Objective-C has two approaches besides subclassing to extend a class. First one is a category. It is a secondary interface of a class that contains declarations of the methods, and a category is a mix-in. Its methods are added to the parent class. The implementation of a category is in a separate implementation at the implementation stack extend. And the other way to extend a class is protocols. First one is through category, and second one is through protocols. A protocol is a list of method declarations like iterate protocol, matrix ops, matrix star add, matrix mat, matrix star subtract, and matrix star multi matrix matrix star mat. Matrix ops is the name of the protocol. The add and subtract methods must be implemented by the class that uses the protocol. A class that adopts a protocol must specify at the interface my class is colon NS object your protocol. Dynamic binding. It different from other loop languages. A polymorphic variable is of type ID. An ID type variable can reference any object. The runtime system keeps track of the type of the object that an ID type variable references. If a call to a method is made through an ID type variable, the binding to the method is dynamic. Evaluation. Support is adequate with the following definition. There is no way to prevent overriding an inherited method. The use of ID type variables for dynamic binding is overkill. These variables could be misused. Categories and protocols are useful additions. Next one is Java. So because of its close relationship to C++, focus is on the differences from what are the general categories. So all data are objects except the types. All primitive types have wrapper classes that store one data value. All objects are heap dynamic, are references to reference variables, and most are allocated with new. A finalized method is explicitly called when the garbage collector is about to reclaim the storage occupied by the object. So here garbage collection is implicit. That is, there is a method provided by the Java which is finalized. Objects are heap dynamic. That means we can use the operator called new to create the references, and we have primitive data types as well as objects, and we can convert from primitive data objects using wrapper classes. Single inheritance supported only, but there is an abstract class category that provides some of the benefits of the multiple inheritance. That is interfaces. Using interfaces, Java supports multiple inheritance. An interface can only method declarations and named constants. Example: public interface comparability, public in compared to TP. Methods cannot be overridden. Method can be final. That means whenever you declare a final before a method, that method cannot be overridden in the derived class. Next, dynamic binding. In Java, all messages are dynamically bound to methods unless the method is final. That cannot be overridden. Therefore, dynamic binding is also noted. If a method is declared final, that means it supports static binding. So static binding is also used if methods is static or private, both of which disallow override. Not only final keyword, if you put or private keyword, then also disallow override. Support for object-oriented programming in Java. So nested classes. All are hidden from all classes in their package except for the nesting class. Non-static classes nested directly are called inner classes. An inner class can access members of its class. A static nested class cannot access members of its nesting class. Nested classes can be anonymous. A local nested class is defined in the method of its nesting class. No access specifier is used. So design decisions to support OOP are similar to C++. No support for procedure, no parental classes, Dynamic binding uses a normal way to bind method calls to method definitions, and it used interfaces to provide a simple form of support for multiple inheritance. Next one is C sharp. General characteristics are support for OOP is similar to Java, includes both classes and structs, and Java's classes. Structs are less powerful stack dynamic construct. That is no inheritance for structs. Inheritance. It uses the syntax of C++ for defining the classes. A method inherited from parent class can be derived class by marking it with a new, and the parent class version can still be called explicitly with the prefix base. That is base dot draw. Dynamic binding. To allow dynamic binding of method calls to definition, the base class method is marked virtual. The corresponding methods in derived classes are marked override. Abstract methods are marked abstract and must be implemented in all subclasses. All C# classes are ultimately derived from a single root class object. Okay, so in case of Objective C, it is NS object, whereas in case of C# it is object. Evaluation. C# is related to recent design C-based OO language. The difference between C# and Java support group are relatively minor. Next is ADA 95 plus. So OOP was one of the most important extensions to ADA 83. Encapsulation container is a package that defines a target type. A target type is one in which every object includes a tag to indicate during execution its type. And target types can be private types or records. No constructors or destructors are implicitly called. Inheritance. ADA 95 supports inheritance. Subclasses can be derived from target types. New entities are added to the inherited entities by placing them in a record definition. And all subclasses are subtypes. No support for multiple inheritance. A comparable effect can be achieved using generic classes. Example of target type. So package person underscore pkg is type person is tagged private, procedure display, P is inode person, that is P is an object, and the private type person is tagged record, name string of 30 bytes, address string of 30 bytes, and age is an integer, and this is the name of the person package, end of the person package, and we are using this person package in student package. So a student package is, we are creating an object with the student, we are creating a new name student with the person with grade point average as float and grade level as integer extra. That means we are deriving from the person package, and no display is overriding in the display is being overridden in the person package. And support for identify dynamic binding. So dynamic binding is done using polymorph variable called class wide types. For the tagged person, the class wide type is person class. Other bindings are static. Any method may be dynamically bound, and purely abstract based classes can be defined in ADA 95 by including the result word abstract. And support for OOP in ADA. So PCW is it's a class wide variable. Person is the package. The display any person is a procedure, and we are calling this display function in display any person. And P is a person. P is an object of the person, and S is an object of the student. And PCW is person's class, and PCW is initialized to P. And display any person, PCW calls the display any person. And PCW is if you assign A to S, that means display any person PCW will call the display in the student object. Child packages. A child package is logically nested inside another package. If separate, they are called child library packages. It solves the problem of packages become physically too large. Even the private parts of the parent package are visible to the child package. A child package is an alternative to the class derivation, and a child library package can be added at any time to the program. And ADA offers complete support for OOP. C++ offers better form of inheritance than ADA. ADA includes no initialization of the objects. Dynamic binding in C based on OOP languages is restricted to pointers and the references to objects. ADA has no such restriction and is thus morally orthogonal. Next is Ruby. In general category, everything in Ruby is an object. It is a 100% pure object-oriented programming language. All computation is done through message passing, and class definitions are executable, allowing secondary definitions to add members to existing definitions. And method definitions are also executable. All variables are typeless references to objects. Access control is different for data and methods. It is private for all data and cannot be changed. Methods can be either public, private, or protected. Method access is second at runtime. Getters and setters can be defined in very shortcuts. Inheritance. And the object-oriented feature supported by Ruby is inheritance dynamic and dynamic binding. In inheritance, access control to inherit methods can be different than in parent classes. Subclasses are not necessarily subtypes. Mixins can be created with modules providing kind of multiple. Dynamic binding. All variables are typeless and polymorphic. Evaluation. It does not support abstract classes. It does not please support multiple inheritance. And access controls are weaker than those of other language support object programming. Implementing over constraints. So two interesting and single challenging for storage structure for instance variables and dynamic binding of messages to methods. So there is a term class instance record which shows the state of the object. It is static, that is built at a compile time. If a class has a parent, the subclass instances are added to the parent CAR. Because CAR is static, access to all instance variables is done as it is in records, and it is the efficient. And dynamic binding of method calls. Methods in a class that are statically bound need not be involved in the CAR. Methods that will be dynamically bound must have entries in the CAR. And calls to dynamically bound methods can be connected to the corresponding code through a pointer in the CAR. So the storage structure is sometimes called virtual method table, that is V table, and the pointer is called VBTR. Method calls can be represented as offsets on the beginning of the V table. So this is about the summary. So C++ is an hybrid programming language, and Java is not hybrid like C++. C# is based on C++ and Java. Ruby is a relatively recent pure object-oriented programming language, and implementing OOP involves some new data structures. And the major design issues are exclusivity of objects, subclass, subtypes, type checking and polymorphism, single and multiple inheritance, dynamic binding, exclusivity, deallocation of objects, and nested classes. And object programming involves three fundamental concepts, which are ADTs, inheritance, and dynamic binding. And Smalltalk is a purely object programming language. Thank you.